Two mammoth fears stopping you from getting what you want. Hey, it's Matt and welcome back. Let's get into it. I had to take a second look. What? What is that? How did that get there? I'd opened up my Kindle app on my Mac to do some research and a strange book was staring right back at me. A bright green one with a clickbaity title, $1 Million Weekend, the surprisingly simple way to launch a 7-figure business in 48 hours. Yeah, right, buddy. I could imagine a sleazy used car salesman handing me the book with a twinkle in his eye. But on closer inspection, this was no used car salesperson. It was Noah Kagan. Oh yeah, I remember this. I did order this. I'd pre-ordered it a while back, but I forgot about it. Don't you love it when you get a nice surprise? Good surprises don't come around very often, particularly after age 30. They seem to happen less and less. We feel increasingly like we've been there, done that, with everything. Do you remember the last unexpected thing you got excited about? Can you relive that experience? A warm rush up your body, your eyes gleaming with joy, the smile you can't wipe from your face. The beauty of surprises is that they're unexpected and exciting to us. Now, you're probably thinking, this is a measly surprise. A book. Sounds underwhelming, right? But no, my friend, I get excited by a book. Why? Possibility. A book can change your life if you read it and you take action on what you learn. The beauty of a book is that someone further along than us can compress 30 years of hard-won lessons into 200 or so pages. Tony Robbins once said, "I'm a strategist, not a motivator. I'm obsessed with finding strategies that create real results in the shortest period of time." Tony's insight led him to seek out successful strategies that other people had already figured out and then apply them to speed up his results. You can do this too. Back to Noah Kagan. Who is he? He was the number 30 employee at Facebook who apparently invented status updates and developed the Facebook ads platform. Wow, that's pretty crazy given everything that's happened in social media since then. I remember him as a funny and interesting guy who seemed to pop up all over YouTube. But his real cred for writing this book was that he's actually created multiple 7-figure businesses. So he does have some of the runs on the board to write about $1 Million Weekend. So naturally, I dived into the book and soon I was nodding along and rubbing my hands together excitedly. I landed on some gold within the first chapter, which I just had to share with you today. Before I share this gold dust, let's set the scene. You have things that you want to be working on. You have dreams, desires, and an unlived life waiting patiently to jump out of you. But for some damn reason, it feels like you're making zero progress, which is confusing, right? You're an intelligent and capable person, but you aren't seeing the results you desire. Something is holding you back. My guess is that it's tied up in these same two fears that Noah uncovered with a group of his entrepreneurial students. And here's a quote from Noah. It turns out it wasn't just a lack of skill, desire, or intelligence. The whole group was derailed by the same two fears. 1, fear of starting. 2, fear of asking. Let's unpack those. 1, fear of starting. Ooh, I know this one so well. I suffered through a career I hated for years, all because I was too scared to take the leap that I knew I wanted to take. You think it's too risky. You think you will fail. You think you're not good enough. You think people will laugh at you, and so on. And so, what do? This sneaky voice of resistance inside convinces you that you are not ready. It says, hey, why don't you learn a little more first? So you dive headfirst into more books, podcasts, courses, and whatever resources you can get your hands on. Anything to distract you from the real work of actually starting. But how does this help? On the surface level, it feels like you're moving. It feels like action. But what's really going on below? You're becoming increasingly confused and disenchanted as you learn all these conflicting approaches and theories from various gurus. Pretty soon, you're drowning in a sea of overwhelm, and whatever thing you are going to start just feels like too much. Strange, isn't it? Learning was supposed to help. Well, it does for a bit, but at some point, it's just hiding. What you really need is action. Remember our lesson from Tony's quote above. When you learn those winning strategies, apply them. Find what works for you. Noah hits the nail on the head here when he said, "But that inaction only breeds more doubt and fear. In actuality, the best way to learn what we need to know and become what we need to be is by just getting started. Small experiments, repeated over time, are the recipe for transformation in business and life." Let those points sink in. Inaction breeds more doubt and fear. So by not starting for reasons disguised as helping you, you're actually creating more anxiety regarding your situation. The monsters of fear and doubt only grow stronger inside you, to the point that you just want to run away and hide under your kitchen table. Come on, you're better than that. You're courageous and powerful. You know you have it in you. You've seen what you're capable of. Reflect on a time when you channeled that inner lion roaring inside of you. What happened? How did it feel? How did others perceive you? What's it going to take to awaken that fearless warrior within you? Next point. Small experiments repeated over time equal transformation. Herein lies the answer to our crippling fears. You probably know this well from experience. You conquer fears through increased exposure. You don't have to tackle the beast in one gigantic swoop and wrestle it to the ground. No, you can chip away at it bit by bit. And as you make progress, confidence builds. Years ago, I heard Jordan Peterson. Now, I know he can be divisive, so love him or hate him, please bear with me as there is some insight here. So I heard Jordan speak of a client from his practice who was terrified of elevators. They feared being trapped alone and dying inside. The danger was invisible, but it was real. You know that chilling fear which paralyzes you? You feel your feet buried in rock-hard cement, your breathing is shallow, and your chest is tight. And so Jordan outlined a way forward as he progressively asked the client, "Could you go in an elevator?" "No." "Could you look at an elevator from 10 feet away?" "Yes." "How about 9 feet away?" "Yes." "How about 5 feet away?" "Yes." "How about 4 feet away?" "No." "Okay, no problem. We're going to go 4.5 feet away from the elevator and we're going to look at the damn thing until you get bored of it. You should be bored of that elevator because then you're not afraid of it." Jordan continues. So this week they're 4.5 feet away from the elevator, and next week they're 1 foot away from the elevator, and the week after that, the horrible gates of hell open. They look inside and they don't run. So hey, they are tougher than they thought they were. And that's what you're teaching them actually. It isn't really that they get less afraid, it's that they get braver. And that's way different because brave is alert and able to cope. Today, I invite you to consider that insight. You're tougher than you think you are. All you have to do is get started. What's one small action you can start with today? Once you take that action, keep chipping away with the next action. Remember, it's the consistent action over time that leads to the results you desire. Now we're up to our second fear, fear of asking. So, you finally got started. Congratulations. But soon after, you run into the next demon on the road that's blocking your path to success, the fear of asking. Here's Noah Kagan again. You have some impressive skills, an amazing product, every advantage in the world, and you'll never sell a thing if you can't face another person and ask for what you want. Whether you want them to buy what you're selling or help you in another way, you have to be able to ask in order to get. So this one probably gets me even more than the starting. Now, why's that? See, I'm an introvert by nature. I'm happiest in my own space. And I get drained by having to make shallow small talk with strangers. I notice this most at parties. Rather than being the center of attention of that party, I would much rather be in the back with an intimate group diving deep into a deep discussion. Can you relate to that? And secondly, in my household growing up, I was raised with a self-sufficient attitude. So, the like, I can get going and I can do it all myself, that kind of mindset. Now, this is an excellent, conscientious quality to have in the workplace for getting results in a resourceful manner, but still, it can bring us unstuck if we're not careful, because you can quickly overload yourself. You think you can do it all. You know how suddenly your calendar is overflowing, you feel stuck, and you're sinking into a quicksand of things you said yes to. At some point, you realize this suffering is optional and you have the power to change things. You can say no, you can set boundaries, and you can ask for help. Sounds crazy, right? Asking for help. But for some reason, people don't want to do it. They think they can do it all themselves. But one of the best things you can do is get help when you need it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the hard part in all this we're talking about is that pesky word, the one that we revolves around this fear and that many people fear, is asking. Yes, asking. I know it sounds ridiculous, but the fear of asking has sentenced many people to a lifetime of inner turmoil and sleepless nights. And you don't want that. You know what you have to do? Get over this fear of asking. And what's the best way to do that? A reframe, my friend. And Noah Kagan on this said, once you reframe rejection as something desirable, the act of asking becomes a power all on its own. So what, you might be exclaiming, a reframe? Yeah, so each time you ask, you're one step closer to getting what you want. I know salespeople use this to their advantage. Rather than getting hung up on how many sales they make, they actually focus on collecting no's, which sounds strange, but it makes sense. So the idea connects to another one, which I've spoken about, of loving the process rather than focusing on the destination. Because this process of collecting no's is basically continually connecting with people, making your ask, and then collecting those no's. And eventually the yeses take care of themselves. Because if you keep asking and keep getting no's, eventually a few people will say yes. So it's taking the power into something that you can control, which is how many people can I connect with and ask with, rather than how many people will say yes. And so if you love that process of showing up, connecting, and seeing that as a one step closer to your goal, then suddenly it becomes more desirable than just this fear of rejection. Whatever it is you need to ask for, how can you reframe it into something desirable? Tap into your values and what drives you. Next up, I want to talk about creator's courage. I'll leave you with a quote to ponder that inspires courageous experimentation. Here's Noah again. Take me and any of the super successful entrepreneurs and side hustle champions I've met over the years. It's uncanny, but one commonality nearly all of us share is the crazy number of seemingly random things we've tried to launch, stretching back to our childhoods. Online courses, self-published books, consulting, Airbnbs, affiliate marketing, YouTube channels, a college dating site, and many more. And for all of us, almost all of these projects failed. So what is the connection between all these random failures and the success we ultimately achieved? It's clearly not our expertise. No. It's because of our willingness to run small experiments that we eventually succeed as a byproduct of the fact that we just try more things, period. That's what I call creator's courage. That's a beautiful little summary from Noah that captures the essence of this, just showing up and trying, experimenting, and being willing to fail. It's underrated and something that we need. I know I need to try more of. I've certainly been loving this book and the little injection of courage that it's been giving me. What is creator's courage exactly? Well, Noah says it's the ability to come up with ideas, starting, and have the courage to try them out, which is asking. Come up with ideas, starting, and having the courage to try them out, which is asking. So suppose you're not getting results. maybe you haven't run enough experiments. How many things are you starting? And then how many people are you then asking about that? This isn't supposed to be easy, and it feels hard pushing our comfort zone, but over time, that relationship changes. Remember the first time you drove a car? It was overwhelming and scary to be out on the open road. But now, it's a breeze. Start building your creator's courage. Take action by starting and asking. That's it. Thanks. I hope you found value in that. And before we depart, I'll just want to leave you with something to journal on. What are you afraid of starting? And what is getting in the way? And if you're up for a little challenge, here's something that was inspired from Noah and the book. Who is it that you are avoiding asking? So what is that ask that you need to make, but for whatever reason, you haven't been able to do it? That fear is too much. I invite you within 24 hours of hearing me say this to call, email, DM, or just contact that person with your ask. Just get it out there. And here's something, a rider to attach to that request is make it fun. So how can you reach out to that person that you've been putting off? Make the ask that you've been unwilling to make, that you need to make, but how can you make it fun? And, scary things are easy to do when they're fun. And so I'm cheering for you and your success, and just think of how good you'll feel when you finally make that ask. And even if they don't say yes to your ask, then see that as the no you've collected, and it's something desirable. You're on the path to getting that yes because you've taken action. Thanks again for joining me today. As always, I invite you to join my newsletter, the Matt K. Head Letter. If you enjoyed this episode, I'm sure you'll love my writing. I try to keep it fun and share plenty of insights that will help you on your journey. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Cheers.